You have a subject here, John Lennon, that ostensibly seems to be somebody so exhaustively documented in film and books.
What could you possibly say?
What led you to this project, and what sort of gave you the realization that this decade of John's life in New York would be such a rich subject, such a deep well to explore?
Well, John, there are a couple cities that you immediately associate John with, and Paul. Liverpool, obviously, being the most obvious, and then Hamburg a little bit as well. But John never struck me as really a Londoner, obviously British, but that New York just was John. I mean, it was one of the reasons I moved to New York from Chicago. And I thought that New York was just the right lens to apply to John's life, knowing that he would have been 70 this October. And that New York put everything in focus. It put the artist in focus, it put the house husband in focus, it put the politics in focus, and in just the right proportion. And it gave me also a sense of place, which is important for story, and a narrative structure. And I went to Susan Lacey, who was a friend and the executive producer, the producer of the film. She was executive producer of American Masters, and I said, John's birthday is coming up, and I think that this is a kind of an American story, that it's an immigrant story, and especially at this time with so much immigration debate going on, I think that John's story also is a reminder of what makes America special, which is that we don't share a common history. Whether you're like me from Eastern Europe, from a shtetl, or you're from the Dominican Republic, or from Mexico, or China, or African American, and your ancestors were brought over on slave ships. We don't share a common past. What we share is a common vision for the future, at our best. That's how we can connect. And I thought, in that way, John is it's a great immigrant story. He was a refugee. It's weird, he's a Beatle, but here is a refugee kind of coming on our shore. And it was Susan who approached Yoko, and I'm under no illusion that Yoko said yes to Susan and not to me. But, John's story has just been told and told and told, and I guess there's a little bit of arrogance in all of this, which is, I guess, a part of filmmaking. What more could we possibly add? What more could I possibly add to it? And, I thought, well, Elephant's memory was never really engaged in any kind of way. A lot of the music wasn't really engaged. The Lost Weekend, at least in film, hadn't really been discussed, Jerry Rubin's Night, but also Double Fantasy, and, those quiet years. And that the whole story really became one of redemption for me. And the New York offered me all of those things. It gave me all of those things in a nice package. And, honestly, it's one of the reasons why I moved to New York many, many, many years ago. There were two places that I went right off. I got off the proverbial boat at Port Authority. One was Cafe La Fortuna, which used to be on 69th Street, where John would go and get his cappuccino, and Michael's Pub, where Woody Allen was still playing.